All right, everyone, we're going to get started if that's okay. Welcome, good afternoon. My name is Michael Kerwin. I'm the Information Technology Manager for the faculty. Welcome to all of you, and thank you for being here. I know these are difficult and busy times, so appreciate everyone attending today. We're going to start off a bit with some introductions. I mentioned my name is Michael Kerwin. There's some other names there up on the screen. Andrew and Fazman here are part of my team. Sanisha's away today. If you need to reach any of us at any time, now and forevermore, you can reach all of us through that email address. We all receive those messages and we respond. The first person who receives it, usually the first person available, responds to that address. I want to also remind you that you do have local support people within your department that are familiar with all of the technologies and tools that we're discussing today. So feel free to discuss it with those folks. We do our very best to let them know about any of the stuff that we have and vice versa. So there's a really great relationship that we have with the departments in that regard. So, but again, reach out to us at the end of the session or at any point for any kind of assistance. You don't have to worry about furiously taking notes today. All of the information is going to be available to you in 3 separate ways. We've got a Mac Drive folder set up with all of the presentation from today, all of the documentation, the how-tos, everything else. You'll also get that by email, and it's also going to be available on the website shortly. I believe there's also a video in progress today that's going to actually be uploaded as well. So if you need to review anything that's said, that should be available as well. A quick overview of what we're going to talk about today. Today's focus really is about the day-to-day business, if you need to work remotely or at home or anywhere else. The business continuity piece, how you would conduct a meeting, video meeting, how you get access to your voicemail, how you get access to your phone, literally your phone from at home, all that kind of stuff. And also facilitating some additional stuff in terms of teleconferencing and even some online classwork, sort of ad hoc, so to speak. Our emphasis today that we're trying to push is to try these systems before you absolutely become critical and need them, really need them. So in other words, take them away, go home, try a video call with your spouse or your significant other or with a colleague. Make sure that you're able to connect, and then if you aren't, come back and see us, because when you get home and you need to have access to these things and you have to stay home, for example, it's much harder to get support, and it's more frustrating for you and for us to provide that support. So we're trying to encourage folks, install it, use it, get familiar with it, make sure that it works, you've got all the right credentials and all that kind of stuff. So there are a huge variety of tools available on campus. Aside from what we're discussing today, we're talking about tools that we ourselves use, we know them, tried and true, all that kind of stuff. We're not talking about WebEx or Zoom or any of the other tools, Teams even, that's available. It's not to say that they're not really great tools and that they're widely used on campus. It's just we're trying to provide support and provide you with the tools that we know and work with and love, and also that's easier for us to provide support when we use them on an ongoing basis. Likewise, when our community, the Faculty of Engineering, is using them, it's easier for you to tell somebody when you're making a video call, oh, your camera isn't working, here's what I did to make it work, and that kind of stuff. So here are the tools we're going to be talking about today. I've listed them there. McMaster VPN, Mac Drive, some video conferencing stuff, McMaster soft phone service, voicemail alerting, and then some additional training and resources that are available. Some of these tools, especially VPN, a lot of folks are familiar with it. I just want to give a quick overview of what a VPN connection is, why it's used or how it's used, and when you don't need to use it, because we'll talk about one of the caveats there as well. So a VPN connection fools your computer into thinking that it's actually on campus. It creates a tunnel, it's a secure tunnel, and it makes your computer think that it's here so that you can actually access secured or restricted resources. So often the networking folks will say, hey, you need access to Mosaic as an HR approver. You can only access that with a McMaster IP address, a McMaster address that's associated with your computer when it's on campus. So if you're off campus and you don't use the VPN, it's never going to let you through. Once you use that VPN access, it's acting, your computer's acting as a trusted resource, and that's when you're actually permitted access. The VPN access, as I mentioned, is not needed for all campus resources. So for example, if you're connecting to email or basic Mosaic access, you don't require a VPN connection. One of the things that we were alerted to yesterday is that there's a very limited number of VPN connections available to the campus community. So UTS informed us yesterday there are 750 concurrent VPN connections. They're working on increasing that number. In addition to that, that 750 number is actually carved up. So it's not the entire campus that actually has access to that. There are some that are reserved for critical networking folks that need to connect in, some antiquated systems. I believe Mugsy used to require a VPN connection, and those are still set in place from days gone by. They're working to correct that. They're working to increase those license numbers and the infrastructure behind it. But that's why we're actually having part of this training, is to let people know that you don't always need a VPN connection to get to campus resources. Some of the stuff you do on a day-to-day basis doesn't require that. If you're an HR approver or a financial approver, then you need that access to get into those portions of Mosaic. So as I mentioned there, some of the financial stuff. The directions on how to get your VPN connection are listed there. That's a UTS website. Their documentation is pretty complete and pretty up to date. If you need to install it on your laptop, keep in mind you can also install it on your mobile device. Could be a tablet, could be a cell phone. And in some cases you're going to need that, and we'll talk about that for some of those tools coming up. You're going to actually download and install the Cisco AnyConnect software. That's what provides that VPN connection. And there's also an address that you're going to need to put in for the first connection that you make with the VPN software. You're using your Mac ID username and password to make that connection. And you're going to leave the VPN software running in the background while you're accessing those other systems, if you're logging into Mosaic and all that other stuff. The VPN client is downloadable from the UTS website if you're using a desktop or a laptop computer. If you're using a mobile device, you can actually obtain those from the App Store or from the Play Store for your device. File sharing, again, the Mac Drive file sharing service is something that probably a number of people are aware of. If you think of this, if you're familiar with some of the other file sharing services like Dropbox, things like that, this is very similar to that, but it's in our own secure environment. You manage who has access to the files or folders. You can create access. It's especially important for very large files if you're working with building drawings and things like that you're sharing, or very large documents like large spreadsheets that you really wouldn't want to send by email, and keeping in mind that email isn't secure. So using Mac Drive as a file sharing service is critical for those types of things. And in addition to that, it's also good for project management. If you say, you know what, we've got a repository of documents that we've been working on for a specific project, it's really good for that in terms of keeping everything together and sharing it. We advise people to use that particular URL for accessing Mac Drive. It's a landing page, not just for the login screen, but also for all the help services, the how-tos and everything else. This service was sort of a grassroots thing that was developed by all of the faculties together, mostly by business, humanities, social sciences, and then it was actually handed off to UTS. They handle it as one of the core services now. So as I mentioned, that's a login page as well. Again, you're going to use your Mac ID username and password to access those resources. And you can share this, any of the files or folders that you choose to share, by sending invitations or by sharing web links to those specific files. There is a desktop client available. Not everybody uses it or needs it necessarily, but if you want to access it more readily or synchronize your files with local stuff, you can actually use that file. You can get alerting if someone else in your group has access to a shared folder and they update a document. You can turn on alerting and get notifications when the file is actually updated or files are updated. The next tool we're going to talk about is video conferencing, and this is kind of where we're getting into some of the meat and potatoes. Video, V-I-D-Y-O, which was terribly named and I find myself always spelling, is the tool that we use throughout the faculty for our meeting rooms. So you'll notice there's video cameras around the perimeter of this room. That's the system that the Faculty of Engineering has adopted for digital video conferencing. It's in a variety of our meeting rooms. And having adopted that, we actually now have a cloud-based service. It used to be on premises. Now it's actually in the cloud for everybody to be able to access it more readily, and also to be able to have more of a robust service in terms of a wider amount of licensing. So we're leveraging our current licensing for video conferencing and infrastructure that we're using in our meeting rooms, but we're also adding additional licensing. It's our aim to provide accounts for all staff and faculty within the Faculty of Engineering to be able to facilitate those video calls. And I'm going to get into the sort of the meat and potatoes of this particular piece. So when you're an account holder, everybody who is an account holder installs the software, and they become the host of the video call. You create a virtual room. So right now we're in a physical room and people could call into this room. If I create a virtual room, it's on my mobile device. It could be on my laptop, it could be on my tablet, it could be on my cell phone. And that allows anybody else to call into me at that time or at that point. With each virtual room, we can have 200 inbound callers per room. In other words, I decide to host a video call, I can have 200 inbound callers free of charge. I have my one license and I can have everybody call into my virtual room. You can see that we could actually hold ad hoc classes in that fashion, more of a talking head, so to speak. I can share my screen. I can actually share any content that's on the screen, and those inbound callers can participate, both audio or video. Their heads appear on screen depending on who's speaking and who isn't. And there's also a chat feature and all that kind of stuff that's built into it. The ease of access is one of the critical pieces for us. When you have that virtual room, and we're going to give you a brief demo about that shortly, once you have that video room created on your device, you have your own URL, your own web link that you share out to other individuals. You send them that web link, they paste it into their browser, and that's how they make the video call. There's no software that they need to install, there's nothing to configure, and it's really easy, a real low entry point in that regard. Chrome is the preferred and recommended browser for them to use. They are welcome to install that client as well if they wish for a more robust experience, but they don't really need to have that. It's just having that URL that you're sending out to them. Recording capabilities are also available if required. So you can record a session, and again, going back to the teaching piece, if folks wanted to actually hold an ad hoc class and they wanted to record a lecture, they can certainly do that, and then do whatever they wish with the video, send it out to the class, upload it to a web resource, whatever they'd like to do. There's support for all desktop operating systems and all mobile devices. And the other nice piece of this is that teleconferencing is also baked into the solution. It's also part of the software. So in other words, you can have a teleconference call through the video system, and you could have 200 people calling in without them even having a video camera, or without you even having a video camera. You can actually hold those teleconference calls. In terms of creating your own virtual room, each person in this room has already had a video account created for them. Your video account uses your Mac ID as your username. And Andrew, you can maybe let us know what the password is for everybody. I think it's all the same for everybody right now.
It is all the same.
Okay.
And I can share it.
Well, you can just tell everybody.
Oh, it's ENG, so capital E, ENG, 2, the number 2, @ 20. So ENG 2020, basically.
And so that'll be shared out to everybody as well,
Yeah.
by email after the presentation, okay? So you don't have to worry about that if you didn't get that.
Yeah.
The idea is that you'll be able to access it immediately after the presentation. You can download and get started if you wish, and start doing video calls as soon as we're done the presentation. On the first login, we ask that you actually change your password because everybody's password has been set the same. So set it to something unique that you'll be able to remember. And as I mentioned at the beginning of our discussion about this particular tool, as a host and creating your virtual room, you do need to install the software yourself. Your attendees don't need to do that, but you do need to. It's the virtual room to which they're calling, okay? The instructions on how to do that are going to be provided, or are provided in the documentation, so you'll be able to go through that process step by step if you'd like. So Andrew's going to provide a brief demo about the tool itself, about how it actually functions. I'm just going to step out of this.
Thanks. Thank you. So again, this is the password, but I will send an email later during this presentation and training session. But to, thanks. So I'll show you a brief demonstration on how to sign in and also access the virtual room. So this is assuming you've downloaded and installed the Video Connect client. And once you open the application, you enter in your username, followed by your password. So here you'll be welcomed with the landing screen. And then you will click on your room. And if you wish to send an invitation, you would click on this link here called Send Invitation, and it will open up your email client. Here you can enter in the email addresses of your remote participants, and the instructions will be provided to them on how they can connect. So they can connect through a web browser, they can teleconference in. Yeah.
Yeah, so as Andrew's mentioned there, it'll automatically open your email client and generate that standard email address, body, providing URL for you, or you can choose to just grab the URL either from the email or even from within the client and actually just send that if you'd like.
It's right here.
So you can see the room link that Andrew just clicked on there and it copied it to his clipboard. That's the only information that's really needed for them to join the call.
Yep.
Okay?
And then you could just join the room. I'll be the only one in this room.
Yeah. So we would do a live demo of the call, but the problem is that we end up with feedback. With everybody being in the same room, you get crosstalk on the microphones, so we can't really do a live call. But right now, Andrew's in his virtual room. Any one of us could actually call into his room as long as we have that URL. Okay? So that's what it's like to be a host for a call. And with licensing for all of us here in the room, you now have the ability to have your own video call sessions and to share that out, that URL, and be the host of those calls.
Okay.
Any questions about that particular piece? Okay.
Sorry, there was a camera on there. Can you use the camera?
Yeah, so any device that you're going to use for hosting, Sally, if you wish, if you wanted to do a teleconference call, meaning just a phone call, and it's a group call, you don't need a camera, right? But if you're doing video calls, you need a device with a camera and a device with a microphone. So a laptop with a web camera is fine. If you wanted to set up a better camera, you wanted to go a little bit more elaborate, an external microphone, you could do that, but it's not required. And the same thing goes for your mobile device. Everybody's cell phone now has a camera and a microphone, of course, for making calls. So you can actually use that device to make a call. And what I usually advise people of is that the lower quality of the device that you're using, the lower quality of the call, right? So in this room, we've got dedicated stationary cameras, we've got great microphones that we set around the table. The quality of the call is really great. It starts to get a little bit less from there. If I start using my laptop, it's not quite as robust. If I use a cell phone, I'm going to be moving around. So the people on the other side see that. It looks a little bit awkward or jittery. So depending on the device you're using, you're kind of affecting the quality of the call. And also bear in mind the quality of your connection. If you're trying to do a cellular connection when you're mobile, you're out in downtown Dundas or something, and you're making a phone call, the quality is not nearly as good as if you're inside on a Wi-Fi connection. If you're at home on your Wi-Fi, or even in any of the engineering buildings on Wi-Fi, the quality is much better in terms of the quality of the call. So that all gets affected by all of it, but really this is a really robust system that, again, allows hundreds of people to call into a call at any given time and simultaneously, right? So we can all have these concurrent calls, and it allows us to work together as a group. Any other questions? Okay. Yeah, sorry.
Where do we download the app?
So that's in the documentation, Greg.
Okay.
But yeah, and that's being sent out to everybody. Before the presentation's over, you'll get an email with all the documentation and all the links.
No,
and
I
everything.
actually already,
Yeah, if you're using an app, if you're using a mobile device, sorry, you can get it from the App Store or from the Play Store. And if it's, yeah. And our particular link, you can also go to,
Maceng.videocloud. Yeah, it's on the documentation.
okay.
yeah, so
Thanks.
we have our own hosting portal as well, and you
Yes.
can download the clients from there.
So I'll give back.
All right, great.
I have a question.
Yes, sorry.
Can an instructor use this app to facilitate multiple group work, group activity at the same time? So let's say a class of 50 students and there are multiple groups. Each group consists of, let's say, 5 students, and they are concurrently having group discussion. Can this app allow the instructor to facilitate all these?
Not to my knowledge, it's a one to many or many to one, not multiple manys to one. Does that answer the question?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know of any tool that does that. It might exist, but I'm not aware of it, so.
Thanks.
Okay. But that being said, you're welcome, you know, I mean, you can have 50 or 100 people or 200 people for that matter calling into your room. And as mentioned, that would be a way to hold an ad hoc class if you needed to, if you were an instructor. Okay. Moving on. The next tool we're going to talk about is the Avaya soft phone client. This is a piece of technology that isn't very well known on campus. It's kind of a hidden gem in my opinion. It's a bit of a pain to set up, but once you get it set up, it's pretty slick, it's pretty neat to use. What it does is it allows McMaster staff and faculty to use their laptop or their mobile device as if it's a traditional office phone. So in other words, you can be at home, you can make and receive calls as if you were in your office from your mobile device or from your laptop. You can make 5-digit dialing of calls from your device. The caller on the other end sees it as if you were sitting in your office. The call display shows up that way. And you can imagine for folks that are in a support role, you don't necessarily want to call a student back using your cell phone or your home phone. This allows you to make a call to them, showing as if you were in your office. So it shows your office phone on the call display. In addition to that, it also allows you to manage your voicemail within the soft phone application. So you can view missed calls, see all those. You can actually manage your voicemail, listen to voicemail messages, delete them. When you delete them, it actually, the red light that normally shows up on your phone goes out as well, just as if you were to delete them in your office. So it's pretty slick in that regard. The one piece that you really need to have is you have to have a voice over IP phone in your office. There's very few phones on campus that don't have this any longer, and I believe most of the JHE phones have been updated. People can correct me if I'm wrong, but if you have an Avaya headset, or handset, I should say, in your office, those are the latest ones that have been updated, and those are the voice over IP phones. So you should be able to have access to this service. So again, I'm going to run through this rather quickly, and we'll have a small demo of the service itself. You would need to download and install the software for your laptop or your mobile device. If you're going through the telecom stuff, so we went through the trouble of verifying all the information before we made this presentation. We found out that the stuff that's on the telecom site is very outdated. The downloads, all of the documentation, everything else. So please use the stuff that we've put together that's on the MacDrive site, or the documentation we're going to send you as well. If you're getting the mobile device clients, those are available from the app and Play stores as well. Documentation. This does require a password. The only place you can get the password is from the telecom office. You do need to contact those folks directly. They recommend that you contact the UTS service desk and ask for access that way. If you have a hotline connection to the telecom folks, you can try and leverage that. But that's their preference. Your username for access is going to be your office phone extension. The password is going to be a 6 or 7 or 8 digit number that telecom is going to give to you. The first time you access the soft phone service, you're actually going to be required to restart your phone in your office. So in other words, plan ahead. What happens is there's a sync up, a synchronization between your soft phone and your office phone. And so your office phone wants you to kickstart it and reset that connection. If it doesn't automatically restart, all you have to do is unplug the cable at the back of the phone, wait 10 seconds, and reconnect the cable. Prior to launching the soft phone application, if you're off campus, you must launch a VPN connection. Then launch the soft phone application, okay? That's a requirement. If you're on campus, it's not a problem, but it's one of those restricted access pieces. So if you're someone who's a mobile worker and you're going across visiting students at various buildings and things like that, if you have the soft phone application launched on your phone, on your cell phone, you'll get calls as if you were in your office. You'll see the call display will show up from local numbers, and likewise you can make calls, as I mentioned before, as if it's in your office, a 5-digit dialing. If you have 86 services, everybody aware of what an 86 service is on your phone? So in other words, if you wanted to make long distance calls to Toronto and things like that, you can do that from within the soft phone service as well. So if you were someone that needed to do that and you're working from home. I'm going to actually, sorry, back up there. I'm going to actually have Fazman do a brief presentation for us, just a bit of a live demo to show you what the app looks like, the soft phone app. I'm just going to, I think I've lost it.
Yeah. I'm going first. I need to connect through.
There we go.
Okay. So please bear in mind, you do require VPN. So without VPN, it won't work. So if you're at home, make sure you go to App Store or Google Google Play Store. And
Fazman was getting a call there
it's my
from.
mom, sorry. Yeah, you go to App Store or Google Play Store and download the VPN app. Once it's installed, I'll show you. So it's called AnyConnect. I think you can see it here, this app. Once you install, it's your Mac ID and password. You enter it, you log in through VPN. And then the software, all the information is available on the file we are sharing. So you go, you can download the app. The app is called OneX Workspace. You can see the right bottom corner. I'm going to show that one. So once you install the app, the configuration is a little tricky. If you have any questions, please contact any of us. We can provide you the information.
So step-by-step instructions are in the documentation.
Yeah.
I mentioned before, it's a bit of a hassle because there's a, stand on your left foot, stand on your right foot, whatever, get the password, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But once you actually get it installed, it's pretty slick. It's a pretty cool tool to actually be able to use. But, like I said, there's a lot involved. UTS is not advertising it. Even when we contacted the UTS service desk, they didn't know what we were talking about. So we said, well, this is an application that's available on the telecom website. They pushed us through to telecom. Those folks knew what we were talking about, but the UTS service desk didn't know. So, like I said, it's a bit of a hassle to get installed, but once it's installed, it's pretty slick.
Yeah.
So you want to watch it.
So this is the app. It looks like. So as you can see, this is my work phone basically. I can dial any 5-digit number and call anyone. And when when I receive phone calls on my office, it diverts to here. So I can answer the call. It works perfectly well. I also tested this on Android and iOS both devices, so it works fine. I tested it on Windows 7 and Windows 10 computers. It's the same process of setting up. Once you set up, you'll receive the phone call on your screen. It's like a Skype call. You'll receive it. You can check voicemail. You can have I think you can have a group session, group call, everything. So.
Do you wanna just tap on the touchpad there on the top left?
So, yeah, it just, basically you dial I don't know if I dial any.
Dial my extension 24455.
2, 4, so, what is the number?
4455.
Okay, there you go.
And there, so that's my call display that's showing up.
So it will show you as I'm calling from my office.
And on my call display there, it shows up with Fasman's name,
Yeah.
with his 5-digit number, okay?
So it's really handy to have if you're especially working from home and you want to do, I don't know, international calls or anything. So it won't charge your personal time. It goes through that.
The nice piece of this as well is that it's showing call history. You'll see that actual calls that were made. You'll see missed calls, so if you were away from your office and someone didn't leave a message, you'll see that as well. I like the interface a little bit more than my own office phone, which doesn't have that many features really listed to it. And it also allows you access to all of your voicemail and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So, and in the top right corner there, you're gonna see there's a green check mark.
Yeah.
That indicates that the soft phone service is enabled and working, so.
Yeah, if the check mark is green, then you're good to go. And as long as you have the app open on your phone, you'll receive the calls. So if you switch off the app, it switches off. That's it. Yeah,
So if you have the app open and you're in your office,
You
you're.
get both, they both
You'll
ring.
both, so
Both
you can
will ring.
override.
yeah.
Choose which, you have a dilemma then, Doug.
Yeah.
I can talk in stereo.
That's right.
Yeah, if
Talk to
you have-
yourself.
If you have your computer too, all three can ring.
Oh, cool.
There you go, yeah. So you can have it installed on multiple devices, that's not a problem, okay? So you'll just enter the same username and password that you received from Telecom, and you're good to go. Any questions about any of that? Okay. The next piece is voicemail alerting services. This one's a little more well-known. This is a service that's available, and some of you may have had a VoIP phone or even have one. If you still have a landline phone at home and you had a VoIP phone, VoIP meaning voice over IP. And what it is that when a voicemail message arrives in your inbox, or sorry, in your voicemail inbox, you can receive email notifications with an attachment that has that same voicemail message on it. And you think, well, what use is that? Well, if I'm out at meetings all day and I have my phone with me, my cell phone with me, with email, I can actually find out, oh gee, someone left me a message, and I can actually listen to that message from wherever I am. And of course, when we're talking about working remotely, it's nice to have that access so that maybe a student calls you and they're leaving you a message, and they don't even know that you're not in the office. What happens is that you'll get an email notification with an attachment that says, which is an actual WAV file. It's a sound file that when you open it up, it plays the voicemail message as if you were listening to it on your desk phone.
And it saves you dialing in if you're out of town.
Absolutely.
Pick up your
Yeah,
messages.
yeah. About that. It is an add-on service to an existing McMaster phone. So in other words, if you have a phone in your office, it's just an add-on service that's necessary, that's possible, let's say. The one caveat is that you yourself can likely not call. Only an authorized phone coordinator for your department can log on to the Telecom PhoneWorks system. So they must make the request on your behalf. I can't do that for my own system. There's a coordinator that does that for me. So just much like you couldn't add or delete a phone for your department, one person is authorized to do that typically. And that person is the one that can actually make the change to your service. They're going to simply log into the PhoneWorks system and request a change to the service. The menu path I've listed there is they click on New Install and then VTE. VTE, I guess, stands for Voice to Email, and then they're enabling that service. Of course, they must provide your name and your email address, and that's the message. That's the address to which your voicemails are going to be redirected, or your voicemail messages are going to be redirected. When I say redirected, keep in mind that you still maintain those voicemail messages on your phone in your office. You just get a copy of the message as an attachment to an email. Okay, so there's, don't think so. I'm not full, I can't speak confidently about that, Lori, but I don't think there is. So again, that doesn't impact any of the voicemail services. If that, when we were talking about the soft phone service before, or your landline phone in your office, there's no impact to those voicemail messages. So as I mentioned, the phone coordinator actually needs to submit the work order. And there's a list of coordinators, as far as we understand it, that are able to make those changes. So it might be, there should be someone listed there from your area that would make the change on your behalf. Did I miss anybody?
Yeah.
Okay,
I don't think I see one there.
or you? Okay,
Mechanical, so less, like say, less than closest,
okay.
yes.
So,
Yeah, ECE seems to be off.
okay,
there as well.
so we'll try to update that. We got that list from Telecom, so we'll try and update the list and make it more complete. That's what you're supposed to be on there too? Okay,
No, oh, yeah, no,
somebody more sensible.
okay.
okay. All right, moving on.
Depends on what you mean by area.
Fair enough. So we've got these preset training sessions today. Today we tried to make it a little bit compacted to go through an overview of the session. If you get home or you get at the end of the session today or you get home or any time in the future, if you would like additional training, one-on-one, you want to try a video call with us or something like that for support, please feel free to contact us. We're more than happy to help. As I mentioned, try early, try often before it becomes a necessity. We will provide additional resource listings as available. Carrie, you had a question?
Yeah, I had a question about those other phone options. Is there an additional cost?
Lori just asked me that. You're talking about the voice to email service? The soft phone, there's definitely no additional cost. The voice to email, I don't know if there is. I don't think there's.
There is a little cost.
Okay. I was an early adopter, like a proof of concept kind of person, so I've had it for a few years. So I don't know. There was no charge when I signed up. Doug seems to think there might be.
There
So,
was. I
okay.
signed up years ago too, but I think there was a charge. It's McMaster.
you gotta, I talk nice to them. Anyhow, so I don't know, Carrie, to be honest with you. You'd have to find out, and it might let you know when you add the service, right? So, Anna DiFilippo or Judy Ketsis, I think are the two coordinators, right, at Telecom that could help you. Okay, so additional resources. So, there's a lot of information coming in right now from a lot of different resources. McPherson and UTS is launching a website. The COVID-19 website has been up and down based on volume. But as we find additional resources, we're going to make those available to everybody and post them. The video session from today, all of the resources we've gone through today, those are all going to be made available to you, as I mentioned, through email, through the Mac Drive. They're already the link's already populated, and on our webpage as well. But any other resources that we have and anything that you'd like to share, please let us know. We want everybody to have all those tools at their disposal. So, are there any questions? Okay. Yeah.
Is it difficult to get set up with Outlook versus using Macmail, if you reckon? Do it ourselves, or do we need to?
You can. Are you referring to Office 365? So-
Like, I'm just saying logging into Outlook versus using Macmail through the online.
Yeah, so we recommend that folks usually have a local email client. It's not difficult. We can come in and configure your Outlook for you in particular because we're your support person, but we can come and install the software locally. Office 365 is available. You can go to o365.mcmaster.ca. Yeah. And you can actually log into that portal instead of using Macmail, and it's far more elegant than Macmail is in terms of the resources that are available. There's additional resources like Teams that folks are becoming familiar with for chatting and also for video sessions and things like that. So there's an abundance of tools that are available, and Office 365. I mean, this summer we're supposed to go through a migration of adopting that. and moving everybody from Microsoft Exchange on campus to a cloud-based Office 365 installation. And then there's going to be a bump in additional tools that are available to us then. But current events might delay that slightly, I'm not sure. But that's the plan, so yeah.
The URL is called office365.mcmaster.ca.
It's office365.mcmaster.ca for people that couldn't quite hear Phasma.
If they already have Office or something installed at home, they can just open up.
Log in, yeah.
Yeah,
And
but
then
if
so
you,
when you get to that part where it says, you know, your username and log in normal, don't log into that account. Say log in as other user and put ADS /, then your Mac ID without the @ and then your normal password.
so that's a good point though, Mike, as well, is that some folks may not have Microsoft Word or Excel or those kinds of tools on their computer at home. If you log into Office 365, the portal, you have access to those tools. They're online and it's a web-based application. So you can actually have all those applications without needing to obtain a license or download them to your local machine. You also have the option to download them and install them from that portal. So you can have a local installation or you can just simply use them on the web if you'd like, okay? So, and again, those are your Mac ID credentials that Mike was talking about. And the instructions should be listed, I think, on the portal. And if they aren't, contact us and we'll help you get connected. Okay. That being said, there's our email address again, if you guys need to reach us. And we're gonna have that email out to you, if not already, then very shortly. Okay, thank you all very much. Stick around if you have any questions.